Good morning, folks. This is the extended SPY report, and taking a look at SPY very quickly, we can see that first of all, for the pre-market, we do not have a new high, and so what we want to look at is the following. Can we make it up over 169.82? That's really the number that we need to watch here, as it was resistance 1, and we ran from resistance 1 all the way down to support 1. Actually, below support 1, we're looking at this candlestick, and that gives us 169.05. We do know from the blog that that is a pretty familiar support region. You know, below 169 would be the short. Prior, actually below 169.05 would be the shorting action overall, but this wick right here at 169.02 brings that into question just a little bit. So we'll take it at the loss of 169, and then the first target would be 168.67, right? And the second target would be the pivot of the week, which is 168.34. Check the blog for these lower levels as we come through these midlines and get ourselves back into 168 and lower spaces, but that's about it. Now, the alternative entry short would be the pop up here and the rejection of the pivot. So you'd have to wait for it to hit the pivot and then fail and then come down below 169.34. Right? So it's either at 169 or the rejection of 169.34 after it loses the pivot from above, and then we can track ourselves down. Now, to take the trade long, we would probably need to recapture the pivot. So we can say above 169.44, right? Or yeah, things are very, very weird here. Not weird, but you have to be super careful staging along based on this kind of formation. You could take it off the bounce of the 169.10, but that would be a little bit messy, right? You'd have to be super careful. You could take it off that bounce, though. Everything is still running upwards. This has started to flatten out a little. Price is about 2 days flattening out. So we shall see things look like downside momentum to me. All right, now if we move up here, we get up above this 169.82 area, we should see some pretty nice movements into 170. 170.11 to 170.13. We'd need to watch out for that a little bit. But the first, if we did take it here, our first test, the first target space we would probably test, I would say, would be 169.65. And then above this 169.82, we'll probably go right into this 170. But the 50% rule does sit there, and so it might be that we get to 169.99 first, or 169.98. All right? Check the blog levels for more targets as they move up. Let's take a look at this one. With the IWM, things are dipping a little bit. We have a little bit of technical divergence here, but we had it back here and it was not a problem. We're drifting a little bit lower here, but then again, that just means it's coming into support. And so what we've got here is the low, 104.26. That would probably be where we would go to get the short, or the rejection of the pivot, which is 104.43. Right? And then that would give us I would say this would end up being the first target. 104.03. And then we would get into S2, which is 103.84. If we lose that, we should come in to test the pivot, which is the top of the gap, remains unfilled, right? That's 103.67. Now, for the upside, 104.71 looks like the breakout event. Or, the breach of 104.54. That gives us pretty good movement, and it should take us into the gapped high. Well, let's be a little conservative, and let's say, that's where we're jumping in anyway. 104.70. Yeah, we probably only have about 10 or 12 cents here. So we need to be really careful there coming into 104.85, and then this obviously did stop at the midline. That's 104.96. Notice how tight these targets are. It's because the market is flattening out right here. Don't really know what's happening. We could just be quiet or getting ready to roll. I don't know. We'll have to watch that extremely carefully. Downside momentum continues. All right. Again, this one looking weaker than most. This is the Qs. Look at where the SMIs are here. Ridiculous. Yeah, totally different. Totally different. All right. So, what's the trade? Well, below 74.22, or at the rejection of, I'd have to say that area, 74.43. Yeah, 74.37. I don't know where those buyers are sneaking around there. Let's not let them catch us. Yes, that means we give up some profit, but better to be sure about where we're going. We will fall into the gap if we lose 74.26, right? So, and we did just a little bit, I think. No, maybe not. But below that area, we should fill 50% of that gap. Takes us into 73.84. And then the rest of the gap, we would have this as a target, 73.65. And the fill of the gap finally there at 73.52. And we have these numbers. They should be familiar to us from the blog. Now, where is the bounce event? Where do we take the long? This thing is so noisy here that the long shouldn't be really taken until we get above 74.64. Now, if we dance around here and we end up holding this level and we pop back up into here, we could take it from 74.46. But that, again, would be pretty dangerous. 74.64, the better choice, and then into the pivot, just above the pivot, 74.85, and the weekly pivot of 75.04. Now that's pretty solid collision point right there, so not really going to look past it much. Going to say maybe 75.19. All right, please pay attention if I have a particular target set out and the chart looks like it is coming into a space that it shouldn't be, or it's coming into a space and dying. We know that's because momentum is drifting and it's time to get out of that particular trade, at least in large, at least in partial quantity. All right, good luck trading today.